Well, hello. My name is Doug Robbins. I'm also known as Doug the Efficient or Doug the Foodie, or sometimes I'm just called Reverend Ron. You have stumbled onto engagement. It must be Wednesday if I'm here. And if you're here, we're going to have an interesting conversation today. So, welcome to engagement. So, I hear this all the time. It's a common question that I get from people on the street, and they say, "Hey, Doug, you're a wedding officiant, and you have a streaming channel called Engagement. And is this just for people that are getting married? Because we've never checked it out, but we're married and or not married, and we don't think that we belong." Well, I'm here to tell you, engagement means coming together, having a visit, having a chit chat, having a meeting, and that's why I started this. We only do curated conversations. There's no room for politics. There's no room for hate. It's curated conversations about basically whatever I find interesting. And I've been very fortunate to find a lot of very interesting people in my journeys. Some that have rubbed elbows with Oprah Winfrey, some that make some really spectacular drinks, and some that just make me giggle. And we have them on here because they may have done something phenomenal. We did an entire series on phenomenal females. And right now we're doing a series called The Good. We know that in our neck of the woods, we have people that do a lot of good. And I'm sure that you have people in your neck of the woods, wherever you may be, that also do a lot of good. So this is season 6, if you can imagine, episode 6, where we're going to meet someone who does some great stuff in my community. And you can substitute your community name for my community name, and you probably have someone doing this. Maybe not to the level, or maybe even more. We don't know. We don't judge here. But as I've gone through and talked to different organizations that I have hand selected to come on here, because you can't just tap Uncle Dougie on the shoulder and say, "Hey, can I come on the show?" No, it doesn't work that way. I'm not elite by any stretch of the imagination, but I need to have a connection to have a curious, curated conversation. And my guest today is just that. I met Marianne Willson many years ago, um, sitting in the church pew, ahead of me, behind me, beside me sometimes. And her glow, her light, her radiant being was magnetic. And she does a lot of great in my community. And I wanted to have her on here to help share that and shine a little light on what she does. So without any further ado, Marianne Willson from CK Pride. Marianne, come on in here. Where are you at? There you are.
Hi,
How
Doug.
are you?
Very well. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I don't know how long I've known you, but it's been a long time.
It certainly has,
Yeah,
at least 10 years,
yeah, at least,
at
because
least.
our church was alive at that point, and it's been gone
Absolutely.
for a number of years. And you were always there, at church, singing your heart out, smiling as you are now.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot in our community. And like I tell the folks, there's people in your community that are just like Marianne doing great stuff. Um, Something that you should know about Marianne is that uh, she realized she doesn't do it alone. She
Yes.
realizes what my aunt Trula always said, that many hands make light work, and this is actually something I keep nearby. So Marianne knows, just like my aunt Trula did, that many hands help with the load. So, Marianne, tell us what you do, where you're at, all the good stuff. Take it away.
Oh, well, thank you. Wow. Um, I, I am, the bottom line is, I am passionate about helping people. I am passionate about advocating for those that are marginalized, that those who feel that they've been silenced and they don't have a voice. I'm passionate about being their voice and stepping up to the plate and having those difficult conversations, not conflictual conversations, but hard conversations. I am the person that is ready to have those. So and
That's
whether
true.
it's true, right? Whether it's in church or
In the
whether
parking
it's
lot or on the
in the
handicap ramp going into church.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Wherever I am, people always know what I believe in, what I stand for. People always know that I always have everybody's best interest in my heart. I truly do, and I try to always be gracious and kind because we don't all start from the same place, and I know that better than anyone. Um, and that I think is what makes us all beautiful humans together to form a tight community. Is that we don't all start from the same place.
Very true. Um, so there's a lot to unpack here, and and as anyone that knows me, I'm very much, I see something silver and shiny, and I'm like gone that way. But I'm gonna try my best to try and be focused here because what you just said was very important. In what I heard, and again, from training that I've had, and I call it navel gazing, thinking from the gut out. Um, you refer to us as humans. We are all humans, which is I can't. No one can dispute that. We're not robots. We're not you know, you know amoebas. We are humans, and you look at everyone as such. You know,
Mhm.
which is a good way to paint everyone because we're all humans. And you realize that humans on any given day, any given moment, any given year, you may be coming at a different level. We don't all meet right at the same spot. And you appreciate that, and that makes you even more human. I would almost say superhuman, but I'm sure I'll get letters.
You're
but
sweet.
so you are a very important part of the local CK Gay Pride Association. I know that you hold a high rank, but you're like, I don't do this alone, Doug. I'm just one of many. So that's the typical Marianne humility. I appreciate that. But you have a lot going on in your organization. There's a lot of education for people to understand, and I want people as they try to digest this to keep in mind the words you said. We're all human, right? I had a very hard conversation with someone years ago who was somewhat of a bully and made time to drive down to Windsor to his office on Riverview um, Drive in Windsor. You might know where that is,
Mhm.
and basically take the time to say, you know what, we are more alike than we are different.
Mhm.
And that was really for me very much the time I sort of snatched my own light back because that's when the light went off and said, you know what? I bet you put your pants on the same way I do. I bet, I'm willing to bet that when you have a crap, you wipe your ass the same way I do. I mean, I don't know more than a couple ways to do it, but I bet you do. And I think with that kind of ground rules, you can have a conversation. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know you educate people on things when it comes to pride. I want you to educate me on something today. And you have no notes, you have no questions. There's been no dialogue about what we're talking about.
No, I'm all in.
You are,
Whatever you
you
want.
always are. So this is a point that people typically bring up. They don't understand it, and that's okay. It's okay to be ignorant. It's not
Mhm.
okay to stay ignorant, right? So I have this that I pulled off your website, and I know you'll be able to speak to it. The
Absolutely.
flags.
Yeah. So um, there is a lot of different pride flags in the world, and these is just a small sample of what exists. And the reason we put this up is to have an education piece. So during Pride Week in Chatham, Kent, we like to do some education around um, the different gender identities and sexual orientations that exist, just to start to have conversation and recognize
Mhm.
that this is just a bunch of colors, but many
Pretty
people,
colors.
pretty colors, but many people really need these kinds of colors and these kinds of identities to help define themselves and find themselves. Because as a queer person who's starting a coming out journey, you don't really know who you are. It's kind of like a fish in a muddy bowl. You're
Mm.
kind of swimming around trying to see the outside to look in, and until you kind of see the light coming through the murky bowl, you really don't know where you are. And that's why people really grasp onto these flags, onto labels, to help define who they are as they come out in that process. And then I just happen to find through my experience that as people get more comfortable with who they are, and as they get a bit older and they have more wisdom and they have more experience and they have more confidence, that those labels start to fall away because now they're not important to you nearly as much. But these flags, for instance, we have the transgender flag, and the reason I know this is the transgender flag, because blue stands for male, pink for female, and then white for non-binary, and then pink to female and blue to male. So we have men to women, like male to female, non-binary, and then we have female to male. So we have the full range of the transgender community identified in those ways.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not see. Prevalently, you're going to see the rainbow flag, right?
Yeah.
We see that in a lot of places, and we see it in our area. On crosswalks, on flagpoles, on benches,
Yes.
in windows, and such. And it's very much. I like to parallel this, whether I'm right or wrong, and I'm way off script here, which is always a dangerous area for everybody, including myself. When you see it, we were recently away on a trip, and we were in an area that had a lot of rainbow flags hanging up. And for some people, I guess you could liken it to back in the day of runaway slaves. If you saw a lantern out, you knew you were in a safe area, a welcoming area. And I think that's probably sort of modern day way, and it's great to see that we have so many of them out on houses and buildings and factories and stores, and windows of cars and bumper stickers, etc. So we see, of course, the rainbow one the most because it's most prevalent, but it's good to be aware of the other ones as well. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, you guys do a ton of great work.
It is Trans Awareness Week this week.
Well, what a coincidence.
This is why I chose that flag. It's Trans Awareness Week.
There we go.
Yeah, just FYI.
We're all getting aware. So you have speaking of weeks, you guys have a lot of weeks, which is great. You guys do have a gay pride, happy Pride week. Do you want to talk about Pride when we have it? It does move around. Other communities have it different times. Yeah. Some do a week, some do a month. Maybe some places do a whole year. I mean, depending on where you're at. Maybe cities like Provincetown, it's just the way it is. It's no different than if you live in China and you're going out for food. It's not Chinese food. It's just food.
Just food.
It's all relative. So
it's all relative. So in Chatham, Kent, where we are, Doug, Pride Week in Chatham, Kent is the third week of August. It's always the third week of August. And our Pride parade and weekend celebration is always the third weekend. So we have been doing that for quite some time. We had our first very large parade. We've always done Pride marches for decades. We've done Pride marches downtown or around the city or otherwise. But it wasn't until really 2018 that we actually asked the city to shut down downtown, the King Street core, and have a formal parade down the center of the street. And that was incredibly daunting, but it also incredible exciting.
Yeah.
And I think if I think back to that first one, I was walking with my partner carrying the banner and a Pride rainbow flag at the very front of that parade. and the courage that everybody needed to have to do that down the center of the street for the very first time. And I remember my partner saying to me, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not as courageous as you.
Wow.
I'm terrified. And I had a lot of people come up to me and say, we really want to, Marianne. We really, really do. But we don't think we can actually do it just because of the fear in them and the terror. And so, and that was 2018. And I thought, we've worked really hard as a society in Ontario, in Canada, to embrace diversity. We are much further ahead than many places of the world.
Very true.
And yet here we are in 2018. And, the leaders that work with me side by side are saying, I don't know, that's scary. And I, had to rally them and say, listen, I'm going to lead you. I'm going to walk the very front. All you got to do is try to keep up.
Well, and I think that's kind of fitting and maybe a little bit ironic too, because you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those trailblazers that blazed the trail for you, and you were blazing the trail for those to simply walk down a city street with their head held high. So good for you. Good for you. So why do we have it that time of year?
So people always ask, isn't Pride June Pride Month? Well, I can certainly explain that. Certainly from a national level in Ontario, you're right. Toronto and is kind of leads the social media on that. But June is Pride Month, or Pride Week is the third week of June. And the reason is because that's when the Stonewall riots occurred in New York.
Okay.
So the Stonewall riots were led in the very first march. Pride March was led by two transgendered women who had enough of the oppression of the local police service, about the community, and they rallied their community together and they marched down after the Stonewall Hotel had been raided yet again. And it became a streetwide riot, and they marched to demand equality and to demand recognition that their community was valid. That is the origin of the Pride Parade. It's steeped in history. And so this is why June has become Pride Month. Now, all of our smaller communities across Ontario, we can't possibly compete with the corporate sponsorship of big communities like Toronto and Ottawa and Montreal or Vancouver. Awesome. Halifax has a fantastic Pride. Great big cities that have empowered LGBTQS communities. So what's happened, at least in Southwestern Ontario, is all of the smaller communities got together. We all belong to a pride organization, like a pride organization. And we said, what if we all selected a different weekend? And then if we all had different weekends, then all of our communities could travel and support your community. And then we could all still go to Toronto together. And then we could all still go to Montreal together. And we could all still go to Sarnia together. We could all still go to Windsor, Essex together. We could all still come to Chatham-Kent together. We could all still go to Hamilton together. We could all still go to London together, etc. And so this is what happened. And so Chatham-Kent selected the third week of August. Why? Because it's less likely to rain. Pride Week in London, half of the time it's raining. But Sarnia Lambton selected the last weekend of May, first weekend of June. That time, it kind of spans that. Yeah. That's when theirs is. And Windsor, Essex is the second week of August. They're right ahead of us.
Perfect.
And Hamilton is the first week of August.
I mean, I've never been to, the big Toronto event that they have, which is, it gets hundreds of thousands of people there. Yes. we've always talked about going, and when we do talk about it, people say, well, you can't go there. You're married, you've got a wife, and you're not gay. And I'm like, it's not about that. It's about celebrating, the unity of it all. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, there's a lot of them, and you know, it's something I think for people to experience, to understand. And I think by doing so, you might learn something too. You might learn something.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and I just love, I've had lots of people come to Chatham Kent Prides and say, "This is our favorite one." And I always say, "You've been to Toronto, right?" And they're like, they say, "But Chatham Kent is our favorite Pride." And I said, "Well, why is Chatham Kent your favorite Pride?" And I get the same answer all the time, because you are a grassroots group, you know where you've come from, and you haven't forgot it.
Nice.
And so, and we see that in your parade, we see that in your festival, we see that in all your events that you do through the week. We can see that in the passion that everybody in your community has when they're participating in it. It isn't some giant billboard.
Or marketing.
Yes.
It's not a big corporate marketing thing. So I'm going to come back to your festival in a second, but I do want to talk about the fact that when it is that time, we also, I know our city officials are always happy to do this, hoist the flag, and I love the photo here. So
That's awesome.
the flag goes up, and it's on all our municipal sites, and it's there for a while. There's a group picture here of people in Dresden that put it up at our city center there, and it goes up, and it's enjoyed, it's respected, and we're reminded, which is important.
It is.
You also
It-
have a festival that happens, and I've got a couple of shots from the festival. So this one here,
yes.
yeah, and
This
this
year
one
we
here.
had a giant rainbow sprinkler with a foam machine. It was a
Nice.
hit. It was
It would
just
be,
the
of
greatest thing.
course. So the festival itself, tell me a little bit about that. Where does it happen? When does it happen? And I know it's for all, but let the folks know that.
Yeah, so everything that CK Pride does is for everyone in the community. You don't need to show a gay card to get in anywhere. It's not how it works. We're all about family and
There are
community.
gay cards.
Don't tell anyone, Doug.
Oh, I didn't know that. I usually play the black card.
um, and so our festival is usually on the Saturday, the third Saturday of the month of August. And typically what we do is we have our parade, and then the parade kind of brings everybody into the festival. And the last few years it's been in Tecumseh Park. This coming year in 2023 it won't be in Tecumseh Park, because Tecumseh Park is being dug up for some infrastructure upgrades, which are very much needed in that part of the community. So we are coming up with some alternative Pride Festival plans. So stay tuned on that.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting. So we were trying to kind of say, well, let's think out of the box a little bit. This is our chance to do something totally different and radical. So like, let's really bring open some ideas. So we'll see what that comes.
I can't wait to hear. That'll be exciting.
I know, I'm excited too. And so we basically have like vendors, and we have community partners, and we have food trucks, and we have activities and things for kids to do, things for teenagers to do. We had this great drag show this year in the park, and we must have had 300 teenagers there involved in this drag show. It was fantastic. We have all kinds of education and the peer support, and a lot of just kind of opportunities for people to have fellowship, and that's really what it's about.
That's awesome. That's great. You have done a lot of things. You guys are always thinking outside the box. No pun intended. But this is one that I hope comes back. I've never gone to it, but I would love to go to this, and it's the sex toy bingo.
Absolutely. We've done 3 or 4 of these now, and they're always sold out.
So I'm
And
skimming this old brochure, old flyer. I don't see anywhere where it says uh, cocktails or open or bar or cash bar. I hope there's a
we
bar.
did have an open bar in the last one,
Nice.
but to be honest, it wasn't as well received as we thought.
That's because I wasn't there.
That could be it.
Yeah.
That could be it. Yeah. But normally they're an event. We have been running them out of the Wish Center just because they have that nice big gym auditorium and we can seat 200 people in there. And it is a partnership with Positive Pathways, which is the group out of Windsor, and they have some sex education budget that they have allocated to Chatham Kent.
Mm-hmm.
And so we partner with them for this event. And so it is a sex education, positive sexuality education program.
Neat.
Absolutely. So it's not just about playing bingo, it's about learning, about being comfortable to say no, safe sex options, STIs, how to protect yourself, all of that kind of health unit kind of oriented stuff that you might hear in grade 7. It's just blown up to be ready for adults.
So
right?
we don't listen in grade 7, just so you know.
We don't. We all go, oh, and we don't listen to anything.
Turn it off and look at the clock and wait for recess to start. So yeah, again, education's paramount. So
education
keep teaching us, keep training us, and maybe eventually us knuckleheads will get it, but probably not. But nonetheless, I think that's incredible. Educate them. Bingo's fun. So let me know
find that it's a big hit for corporate groups.
Absolutely.
Do it as a team building. So we have all like last time we did it was in 2019 before COVID. They haven't done it since COVID because we want to make sure it's safe. But we probably sold 12 corporate tables. And it was amazing, all the different groups that came out and had all their staff come, and it was a team building exercise. And what a great opportunity to bond with your colleagues in a disarming environment.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
Absolutely.
So I want to talk about an upcoming project or upcoming event that you have in Dresden.
Absolutely. So Dresden is having this rainbow crosswalk. It's actually been installed, but we are looking to still raise money to pay for it. And so we've partnered with Dresden Community Group, who've gone and got these 2 bikes donated, I think, from I want to. Oh goodness, it's the one on Thames Street.
Smith-Cycle.
That's it. Thank you. Smith-Cycle got these 2 bikes and Bike Locks, and they're beach cruiser bikes. They're awesome bikes.
They are. Yes.
They're really sweet. And so we're selling raffle tickets because we're going to raffle these things off, and this is how we're raising money to pay for that Dresden crosswalk, this rainbow crosswalk in this community that really needed this crosswalk. It really, really did. There's Dresden Youth Center there, and they've been having some really big challenges, embracing diversity, and that is sad. And so this is why they approach CK Pride to say, "Can you help us? Can you help us raise some funds? Can you help us take this to council? We need to show the youth in this community that we see them, that they're valuable here." That they don't have to leave, that they don't have to be hidden, and that there is people in this community who care for them deeply. And so this is what we're doing. We're raising money, and you can still get those tickets up until the end of the month. So you can reach out to CK Pride, or you can come see us at the Dresden Night Market. We'll be there selling tickets that night too.
That is coming up soon. So here's the ckpride.com is the website to find them. You can
Absolutely.
While we're showing this, your actual email address or website address, you can go there and you can find a wealth of knowledge. I was very impressed with your website because you can, register for for an event, you can register to volunteer, you can get involved, you can help out, you can send financial support. Definitely a place to go if you're looking for resources as well. So check out ckpride.com. It's definitely a place to look for things. So I was impressed. So
Thank you. We're actually looking to rebuild the website to make it even better for more downloadable resources going in the
good.
future. So, yeah, we recognize that we want to be able to have so much more on there for people to be able to download and get access to.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears and talk about this. And this is a mutual friend of ours, and I think the guy's incredible. Mark Reinhardt, who put
Yes.
up, he's known around here. He's a very diverse artist, a great artist, great thinker, outside the box all the time.
Yes.
And he went during COVID, he would put sayings on the side of buildings. And this particular building in the heart of our town has this saying. I think it's very impactful. And that building is about to house what?
It's going to house our community center called Bill's Place.
Why is it called Bill's Place?
Well, a quick story. Many years ago, there was a young man named William Brokenshire who was born and raised here in Chatham. And he grew up here as a young lad. And then when he became 18 or so, he realized he was a gay man. And he unfortunately didn't have the greatest of welcoming experiences.
Okay.
So he decided he was going to leave, and he went to Toronto and he got further education, and he became this incredibly well-loved elementary school teacher, public school teacher. And he spent his whole career there, and he was a community leader there, and was just a pillar of that community. And he still has family here in Chatham, and some of his family were working with CK Pride on a variety of things, and they reached out to their uncle and said, you know, Chatham Kent is really working hard to change and embrace diversity and inclusion, and they could really use some help. And so he reached out to me, and I drove to Toronto with our vice president at the time, and we met with him in his home, and he's told me all kinds of stories, and he said, "What can I do to help?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I'll go back to the community and I'll find out." And so we put a survey out to the community. We had 300, 400 people answer our survey, and from the community said, "We need a safe place to meet. We need a space where we can get together. We don't have a space like that, and we could really use that here." So I went back and told him this, and he said, "Okay, we're going to do this together, and I think CK Pride's the group to do it." So then, unfortunately, Bill Brokenshire was dying, and he worked very closely with me and with our lawyer, which happened to be Deb Verhey, Lowe's Verhey. She graciously gave her time to help us and created a trust fund in the name of Chatham Kent Gay Pride Association for the purpose of purchasing a building and renovating it to be a community center and for it to be self-sufficient, so that we weren't reliant on provincial funding, and that this monies had to be used on this building in a very short time window. The last thing Bill wanted was for this money sitting in a bank account and not benefiting the community. And so this is what we have done. We've bought this building at 48 Center Street. We have engaged lots of community supporters. Junctura Group Construction, amazing, stepped up to the plate. The gifts that they have brought us in this build, complete, unselfish gifts.
Wow.
In this renovation. I can't, I just get goosebumps thinking about them and everything that they've done. And this building is now renovated. So this used to be, ironically enough, the Dave Van Kesteren MPP Conservative office. It's not now. This is now Bill's Place, a community center for everyone in the community to come together in a safe place. It's the home of Chatham Kent Gay Pride Association. Our board operates out of here. It's our office, our business office. And it is a place for peer gathering. It's got a lounge in it for people to gather and sit and visit and have coffee and get to know each other. It's a place for youth activities. It's a place for an out of the closet program. It's a place for community supports, safe spaces, community partnerships. Link has been a huge community partner to us, and they're willing to bring counselors and things to our space. We've created a counseling office in the back so that people in our community who don't feel safe going to some of the services that already exist, we can connect them in a safe space first so that they can feel comfortable and then be able to reap the benefits of those services elsewhere.
Awesome.
We see ourselves as the bridge. There's so many great services that already exist. We don't want to duplicate those. We just want to find a way to get people connected to them in a way that makes them feel safe and meets them where they're at.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things are, I just can't go in there, right?
Yeah.
I just can't walk across the threshold for whatever reason, trauma, bad experiences, the list is endless, doesn't matter.
Right.
But we can connect them at our place in a safe place, having peer supports, knowing that they can say anything that they want to say, get the services that they need, feel confident, and then be able to go to those places because they have a connection within.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I didn't know the whole story, and I didn't want to know it till now. It's impactful, really. It's very powerful.
It is.
So I know it's done, but here's some pictures that I found that I thought were. I want to give a little hurrah to the team that worked there to endless hours of painting and cleaning and so on, and it's great to see. Again. Many hands make light work, so that's awesome. The sign is up now, I believe, at 48. Yes. So it's Bill's Place, and that's awesome. I mean, to be the bridge to help, to help, to hug, to I maybe not bridge. I like the idea of an arch or a rainbow, but that's just my take on it. So. That's awesome.
Yeah. There's a good reason why there's no rainbow on the front of the building.
There is no rainbow,
no.
For safety.
It's for safety.
Yeah.
Because if you're a young person and you're not out to your family, or maybe it's not safe to be out to your family, maybe you're not safe to be out to your friends, maybe you're not safe to be out to your church or to your school, you can go to this space. There's no rainbow on the wall. It doesn't matter if somebody sees you walking in there or not. Nobody's going to know what that is unless they know what Bill's Place is. And so this is why it allows for people to more anonymously participate and to feel safe doing that. Certainly, it'll be colorful on the inside, and aren't we all?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have two major groups of the community that we're really meeting the needs of. Certainly youth, but our second biggest group of people in the community that need us are our 45 to 70-year-old groups. These are people who grew up in times where being gay or bi or lesbian or trans wasn't safe. And these people have been hiding, waiting for their parents to leave this planet, right. Waiting for the people that their mentors, the people that they looked up to not be here, to know who they are. And so we see incredible waves of older adults coming out and self-identifying because they finally feel safe that they can. And those people really struggle to find community. They don't have GSAs to go to. There is no older adults programming. Um, and so Bill's Place is going to fill some of that role to connect some of these people to peers of their own age, so that they know that they're not alone, and we can help them too.
So I didn't know Bill, but I would imagine that Bill will be smiling down on this project because that's pretty amazing. And for uh, Deb Verhey, who I've known a long, long time, to give the time and talent is that speaks volumes. So you guys have
Yes.
you done good. You done good. So I realize you don't do this alone. You'd be the first person to tell me, Doug, I may be the chair, but I don't do this alone. I have a great group of people around me. So kudos to your board, kudos to your volunteers. But
Yes.
I'm sure there are times where you need more volunteers. You don't do this
Always.
alone, right?
Absolutely.
So
There's no shortage of need.
right. Well, it's called the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
80% of the work is done by 20% of the people, and that is across the board. You see it all the time.
Yes.
And once you know that mechanism, that perspective, you'll see it everywhere. It's 80-20. It's incredible. So I know that 80% of the work in your organization is done by 20% of the people, and people get tired. People get burnt out. People,
Yes.
can only give so much, and giving of your time and talent is truly a gift. Truly a gift. I mean, money is also good too, right? But it's a gift. So if you want to volunteer, or you want to pony up money, or maybe you want to do both,
Hey.
go to ckpride.com and connect with the team through there, and let them know how you can help. And sometimes it's just sometimes easy just to do like a talent poll. Like, yeah, maybe you by day you're accountant, but by night, what do you do? Like, maybe you have maybe make a mean souffle and you want to, souffle it up for everybody. I don't know, whatever that is. I mean, share your talents and share your time. And
Well, we could use an accountant. So if anybody out there is an accountant, we could use one.
All right, there you go. So looking for an accountant. That's perfect. That's and it's good that you know what you need, right? Because
Do.
I always tell people, do what you do well, and let other people do for you that they help you out with what you don't do well. So, any last minute or ending comments or requests or things you want to impart on us?
I think the thing that I say probably most often is, we all just need to recognize from where we come, try to acknowledge who we are, mostly to ourselves, and to give selflessly to others, and just be kind. Just be kinder.
Yeah, I can't top that. That's very true. So, Marianne, hang on. I'll come back and get you in a second, but I want to say goodbye to these fine folks. I'm just gonna put you back here. So there you have it, season 6, episode 6, talking about the good. I know you have the good in your neck of the woods too. Maybe it's not visible. Maybe you have to go find it. Maybe you have to do a Google search. Google is your friend. But there is good in all communities. And we see it, I think, more now, or maybe we're more receptive to it now than we ever were before. Thank you for coming to Engagement, and we'll talk to you soon.